Good morning, my senior students. Today we're going to discuss reproduction in flowering plants. In this session, we're going to discuss many points like the pollen grains formation, ovules formation, pollination, and fertilization. So first of all, we have to revise the parts of the flower. We have to remember them. This is a typical flower. Typical flower, it means it has 4 whorls. Starting from the bottom to the upper part, the first whorl is calyx. Calyx consists of sepals, which are green leaves surrounding the inner parts of the flower. After this, we have the second whorl, which is corolla. Corolla consists of petals. The petals are colored and scented leaves to attract insects and surround the reproductive organs. After this, we have the male organ and the female organ. The male organ called androecium, which consists of many stamens. Each one of them consists of anther and filament. The female is called gynoecium, which consists of carpel, one or more, fused together or separated. Each carpel consists of stigma, style, and ovary. All of these parts, which is stamen and carpel, we're going to discuss them later. Now we're going to study the first part, which is the pollen grains formation. Let's know that the pollen grains is formed inside the anther. So to study this part, we're going to use this diagram. In this diagram, we're going to study the structure of the stamen, which consists of swallowing part, which is anther, and long filament, which is the filament itself, long stalk, which is called the filament itself. If we make a transverse section in the anther, we'll find that it contains 4 pollen grain sacs or chambers. Transverse section, it means that you're going to cut it transversely, not longitudinally. Okay, each sac contains different cells of spore mother cells. All of the cells in the pollen grain sacs are called spore mother cells. These spore mother cells are diploid in number. Diploid, it means have double the number of chromosome. It means 2n. So this cell undergoes meiotic division. The cell itself undergo meiotic division. Okay, to form 4 microspores with n number of chromosomes. It means haploid number of chromosome of the parent cell. Okay, and then the nucleus of the microspore itself will make meiotic division. The nucleus, remember, in the first case, the spore mother cell itself undergoes meiotic division, but here for the microspores, the nucleus itself undergoes mitotic division. Mitotic division always form 2 cells. So when the nucleus of one cell undergoes mitotic division, it will form 2 cells, 2 nucleus inside the pollen grain. Here now we have the pollen grain because the wall of the pollen grain becomes thick for protection. And the 2 nucleus are called, one of them is called tube nucleus and the other is called generative nucleus. When all of the pollen grains become mature enough, the wall of the anther will split longitudinally and all of the pollen grains are spread in the environment or in the air. So by this we have finished pollen grains formation, and we're going to watch a video to discuss this again or to revise it. Okay, in this video we're going to watch the pollen grains formation in details. So here, this is the flower of its different parts. This is the stamen, this is the calyx, and this is the carpel, and the last one is petal. By studying the stamen, we'll find that it consists of filament and anther. If we open the anther and we make a cross section in it, or transverse section, we'll find 4 pollen sacs. Each cell in the pollen sac is called spore mother cell, which contains double the number of chromosomes of the parent cell. Now this cell will undergo meiosis division to form 4 cells with half the number of chromosomes of the parent cell. They are called microspores. Now the nucleus itself inside each microspore will divide mitotically to form 2 nuclei. 2 nuclei with n number of chromosomes, like the parent cell, which is the microspores. One of them is called generative nucleus and the other is called vegetative nucleus. Now the anther becomes mature and the pollen grains will cover itself by thick wall for protection. Now all of the pollen grains becomes mature, so the anther wall will split longitudinally, not transversely. It will split longitudinally, and all of the pollen grains will be separated in the air or in the environment. Now we're going to study how does the ovule is formed. Sometimes the ovary consists of one ovule like this one, and sometimes it consists of more than one ovule. So I'm going to put the picture in front of you after this. Here we have the carpel. It consists of a swallowing part called ovary and the style, and the upper part is called stigma. So inside the ovary we have large number of spore mother cells. They are 2n, and the ovule appears as a swallowing part inside the ovary, and it connects to the ovary by a funicle. It's like the umbilical cord in the babies, so this is the funicle. And the 2 integuments, it means like 2 membranes, develop and surround the ovule, leaving a hole, small hole. This is called microbial, through which the fertilization occurs. The spore mother cell is 2n, diploid number of chromosomes. Now the spore mother cells will undergo meiotic division. The cell itself undergoes meiotic division, similar like the spore mother cell of the anther. It will form 4 cells, 4 spore cells with haploid number of chromosomes. 3 of them will degenerate. Degenerate, it means they will disappear, because the ovary wants only 1. The nucleus of the spore cell will divide mitotically. So here the nucleus divide, here the cell itself divide. The nucleus will divide mitotically 3 times to make 8 nuclei. Each of them have the same number of chromosomes of the parent cell, n chromosomes. These 8 nuclei, each 4 of them will migrate towards each pole, and then one of the two groups will migrate towards the center, so they are called two polar nuclei, and the three upper nuclei are called antipodal cells. They will cover themselves by cytoplasm forming cells. They are called antipodal cells, and these will cover themselves also by cytoplasm, and the middle one will be the embryonic cell, in which will be fertilized, and the two other cells are called synergids. They are like helping cells. This is the ovary after the egg cell become mature enough to be fertilized. So in this video we're going to watch how does the fertilization occurs, but before it we're going to watch how does the ovule formed. Here we have the cell when it goes meiotic division for 4 cells. 3 of them will degenerate, and the last one, the nucleus undergoes mitosis division 3 times. This is the first time, the second time, and the last one 4 times. So we have 8 nuclei. Each 4 of them will migrate towards the pole, and one of each group will migrate towards the center to end, and the other nuclei will surround themselves by cytoplasm to form the cells. These two cells are called synergids, and these cells are called antipodal cells. And now the ovum is ready to be fertilized. Now this process of reproduction, the first one is called pollination. So for the pollen grains to transfer to the stigma, this is called pollination. We have 2 ways for the pollen grain to be transferred to the stigma. It may be self-pollinated or cross-pollination. So let's watch this video. Now the pollen grains will be transferred to the stigma. The pollen grain is the male gamete transferred to the stigma. If the pollen grain transferred to the stigma of another flower, this is called cross-pollination. But if the pollen grain will be transferred to the stigma of the same flower, this is called self-pollination. But they have to be from the same species. Cross-pollination are occurred by the help of air, insects or animals, and water. So in this part we're going to start fertilization. First of all, the pollen grains falls on the stigma of the flower. So the stigma will secrete sugary solution. This will help the pollen grain to make a tube. This tube will be formed by the tube nucleus inside the pollen grain. The pollen grain tube will reach the ovule through the microbyle. When the pollen grain falls on the stigma starts to secrete sugary solution. This will help the pollen grain to germinate, and the two nucleus of the pollen grain will transfer with the pollen grain, penetrating the stigma and the style to reach the ovule. The first one here, this is the tube nucleus. This nucleus is helping in forming the tube of the pollen grain. The second one will undergo mitosis division, which is the generative nucleus. Undergoes mitosis division to form two nucleus. The first one is responsible for double fertilization, and the second one is responsible for triple fertilization, as we're going to see. Now this nucleus, after making the tube, it will degenerate. We don't need it again. And the first one will fertilize the egg cell to make double fertilization. The second one fertilize the polar nuclei to make triple fertilization. Triple fertilization, it means they will be 3n, triple the number of chromosomes. And this will be the zygote. Now all of the other parts of the flower become weakened, and now after fertilization, the other parts of the flower becomes weak and they may fall down, except small parts which appear in some fruits. Okay, this is the ovary with more than one ovule. I said I'm going to show you this. Okay, so here in this diagram we're going to repeat what we said before. So we have the two male nuclei is transmitted from the pollen grain to the pollen tube, and the tube nucleus will degenerate, and then one of the two male nuclei, the male nuclei, generative nuclei, divide mitotically, and then one of them will fertilize the egg cell to form the zygote, and this is called double fertilization. When the male nucleus N fertilize the egg cell N, this is called fertilization or double fertilization to form zygote with 2N. Then the zygote undergoes mitotic division to form the embryo, which becomes a fruit after this. The ovary itself becomes a fruit, and all of the other ovules become seeds. And then the other nucleus, with this nucleus, will fertilize the polar nuclei, the embryonic sac nuclei, and they will form the endosperm. The endosperm nucleus, this is called triple nucleus. Triple nucleus, this is because we have male nucleus N and two nuclei of the embryonic sac, two N and N. So triple fusion, this will make the endosperm nucleus 3N. After we have finished the fertilization, so we have to answer some questions about this part. The first question, choose the correct answer. What is the maximum number of pollen grains resulted after the maturation of an anther of a flower, where each sac of it contains 100 spore mother cells? Okay, so we knew that 101 spore mother cells forming 4 pollen grains. So 100 spore mother cells will form 400 spore grains. So this is for one sac, each sac. So we have to multiply 100 by 4, like 4 sacs. So they will be 400, and then we'll multiply them by 4, because one spore mother cells form 4 microspores, or 4 pollen grains will form 4 pollen grains. So 100 by 4 by another 4, they will be 1600. Question number 2. In which of the following figures self-pollination doesn't occur? So self-pollination has to be on the same axil. The flower has to be on the same axil, or on the same flower. Okay, so which one we can't make self-pollination? This one, of course, we can undergo self-pollination, because here the stamen is longer than the carpel. Here we have some unisex flower and some bisexual flowers, so it will be also self-pollinated, because maybe the pollen grains from this anther will fall on this stigma, or fall on this stigma, or whatever. These pollen grains will fall on this stigma, so they are on the same axil, so it will undergo self-pollination, unless the question didn't mention that they are not matured at the same time, because they have to be matured at the same time. Okay, this one also, it's like this one. The anther here can fold its pollen grain on this stigma, or here the pollen grains can fall on this stigma. Here we can't undergo self-pollination because there is no stigma. They are unisex male flowers, so the anther will not find stigma to fall its pollen grains off, so they will be carried by air or insects. This is cross-pollination. Here the following figures illustrate the pollen grains of 3 different species of plants. On examining them by the light microscope with the same magnification power, which of them can be transferred easily by insects to complete the pollination process? Which one can be transferred easily by insects? They have to be sticky, have to be coarse. Coarse, it means like rough. So which one? It will be 3 only can be transferred by insects. To adhere to the insect's body, it has to be coarse or rough. Okay, here we have the following graph represents the number of chromosomal sets in the life cycle of the flowering plant. What do the 2 letters A and B represent respectively? So letter A represents reduction division, because this was the number of chromosomal set was 2n and it becomes n. So reduction division, we have to choose meiosis division. So we don't have any other answer than B, which has meiosis division. But to make sure that this is the correct answer, we have to follow B. B is double the number of chromosomes. It means it was n and it becomes 2n, so this is double the number of chromosomes. The application of the number of chromosomes, it isn't division, it's fertilization, to be double the number of chromosomes. So A is meiosis and B is fertilization. And by this we have finished our lesson for today. Thank you for listening and goodbye.